On to story number 4. The Valley today witnessed yet another brutal targeted killing. Just a day after Independence Day, a Kashmiri Pandit named Sunil Kumar was killed and his brother Pinto was injured after the duo was shot by terrorists in Kashmir's Shopian district in an apple orchard. Over the past week, several terror attacks have been reported in the Valley, while a policeman was killed in Nauhata on Sunday and a migrant labourer was killed in Bandipora last week.
हमें यहाँ से उठाओ बस हम सुबह यहाँ से जाएंगे उधर ही इसका दास्तान बस ये हम आपका लास्ट गुजर अब हमें इधर नहीं है ठीक है हम भी अपने माँ बाप अपने बच्चों को नहीं खोना चाहे ठीक है सर हमारा सोचो मैंने आपको तब भी बोला हमारी सेफ्टी के बारे में सोचो आज भी बोला हमारी सेफ्टी हमें यहाँ से उठा लो बस
जिस धूमधाम से आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव मनाया गया और जिस धूमधाम जोश जज्बे उत्सव और उमंग के साथ कश्मीर के लोगों ने तिरंगा झंडा अपने घरों में फहराया उससे इन कायर पाकिस्तानी आतंकवादियों को बड़ी तकलीफ हुई है और उन्होंने ये खूनी खेल एक बार कश्मीर में खेला है जो अक्षम्य अपराध है जिसे क्षमा नहीं किया जा सकता जमीन के पाताल से भी ढूंढ कर निकालेंगे और इन साजिशकर्ता आतंकवादियों को और उनके समर्थकों को इस कत्ल की इस हत्याकांड की सजा देंगे।
ये बिल्कुल शर्मनाक बात है कि अभी भी कश्मीरी पंडितों के साथ वही अत्याचार हो रहा है। मतलब कश्मीरी पंडित क्या वहाँ पर तो अपने ही लोगों को मार रहे हैं, जो भी हिंदुस्तान के साथ खड़ा है उसको वो मार रहे हैं, लेकिन कश्मीरी पंडितों का तो पिछले 30 साल से ऐसा हो रहा है और इसकी जितनी भी ज़्यादा निंदा की जाए कम है। देखिए जिस टेररिस्ट ने आपको मारना है कितने लोगों को आदमी वो देगा संरक्षण दे सकता है।
Ishan is joining us for more details here. Ishan, as far as this particular killing itself is concerned, if you can take us through what details we have and also in terms of what security situation is right now in the Valley, given the kind of increase in targeted killings that we've been seeing.
Well, it's just not targeted killings. There have been attacks at the security forces from some days which have just escalated. There are grenade attacks, then firing which has taken place. At least 2 policemen in recent days have lost their lives due to the attacks that have taken place, one in Kulgam and one in Srinagar. Remember, the government has been now, forced to make sure that these Kashmiri Pandits who feel unsafe are given safer accommodation, and there are measures that are needed to be taken. But remember, this incident has come at a time when 15th of August just happened and Yatra also concluded in that phase. The government somehow managed to ensure that there is no targeting either of Yatra, which was a concern because there was an unprecedented security cover this time around. And then there were concerns around the targeted killings or throwing grenades, but that really reduced, somehow. But remember, today came a day when these 2 Kashmiri Pandits who are brothers were in their orchards and they were fired upon by militants. Remember, this is a very remote village in South Kashmir where they reside, and they haven't left Kashmir Valley during the worst in 90s. But today, there's a different phase of militancy in Kashmir Valley, and we had seen earlier as well. There was targeted killings that were taking place in Kashmir. After Rahul Bhatt's killing, if you remember, some months back, there were huge protests, and that only gained momentum. And there was a large hue and cry around the killings of Kashmiri Pandits and minorities. Then, for a brief period, it all stopped. But today, again, we have seen that they have escalated. Few days back, just yesterday, there was a grenade thrown at a minority community in Budgam, in which one of them at least sustained injuries. And before that, one must recall in Bandipora, I beg your pardon, where a non-local was shot and killed. He was from Bihar. His name was Mohammed. And before that also, there was one more targeted grenade attack lobbed in Pulwama, in which one again local laborer from Bihar lost his life. So yes, the attacks have been mounting not only security forces but also on, Kashmiri Pandits. How does the government tackle it? That's an important question because they have been on the back foot when Kashmiri Pandits held protests and hit streets, and there were clashes which took place between them and police. Now, how does the situation go from here onwards? Will the security establishment be able to tackle if there are any such moves by the outfits to attack security forces? That's interesting to see. But so far, security forces say they're trying to get up, they're trying to get intelligence that what really transpired, what really happened. But remember, they are linked with horticulture sector and produce apples. They have apple orchards there. They do not move out, and that is where when these two brothers were in their orchard just some meters away from their house, they were shot at. Sunil leaves behind 4 daughters and a wife, and he has 3 more brothers. One of them was in Jammu. We're told that attempts have been made to shift him to Kashmir, but final rights have taken place in Shopian as we speak.
All right. Thank you so much, Ishan, for getting us all of those details. But let's bring in more perspective here. Major General Dhruv Katoch is joining us here on the broadcast. Thank you very much, Major General, for speaking to us. Your, first reaction in terms of assessment of the situation that we've been seeing, the spate of killings, the attacks that we've been seeing over the past several weeks.
Thank you, Avni. Now, let me make it very clear. I think this is one of the most ghastly incidents which have taken place. Kashmiriats died in Kashmir in 1990. It continues to die. And with every killing, there is a further nail added to the coffin of Kashmiriat. Now, this is the first point. It is very interesting to note that Kashmir was finally coming to normalcy. We've had the highest rate of tourism this year. More than 10 million people have visited the Union Territory of J&K up to now. And if you want to get a hotel room in Kashmir, it is very difficult to get one. It is overbooked. But these targeted killings are going on specifically for 2 counts. One, there is a fear in the Pakistani establishment that if total normalcy comes in, they will not be able to operate again. And number 2, they have supporters within. I'm afraid that the Indian state has so far targeted the terrorists, and we have done it very successfully, but we have not been that successful in targeting their support base. Now, I think this support base is something which we need to get hold of. The underground workers, the overground workers, all these people who are actually helping the terrorists through communication and other means, we need to get after them. Avni.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Major General, there have been a number of security review meetings that have been held, in fact, since the last few months. But in your assessment, what is being done by the administration in terms of the security part of that? What is your view?
As far the earlier correspondent, he spoke about the terrorists also attacking military personnel. Now, I've got no problems with that. The terrorist, if he attacks the military personnel, we know how to deal with them and sort them out. So that is one part of the issue. But when they target innocent civilians, I think that is where the matter gets very serious, especially when they are targeting the local Kashmiri Hindu community, because that will lead to the Hindu community now saying that we will leave Kashmir altogether, and we cannot allow that to happen. So, while the security meetings have been held, I think the focus is still on terrorism and not on deterrence. On deterrence, I would recommend 2 aspects need to be taken into account. One, there is still support from a state actor, that is Pakistan. We have not given a deterrent message to Pakistan for a very long time, especially after the surgical strikes. There has been no deterrent message given to them. I think it is time to review that policy and to tell Pakistan that there is going to be a very heavy price to pay. Number 2, as far as the terrorists are concerned, their families are very secure, and their families are the ones who are giving them support. Now, I think we need to book the family members of the terrorists as accomplices. And whether people will like it or not, whether people say it is going overboard, that is a different issue. But the family members are supporting these terrorists, their mothers, their fathers, their children, their brothers and sisters. Someone amongst them is supporting them. We need to find out who they are. And number 3, I'm afraid they are still being given political support by some of the political parties. to get back into relevance, we have both the Muftis and the Abdullahs trying to regain relevance by actually, not speaking out adequately against the terrorist activities. And even now, the statements which are emanating from them, there is no condemnation of the terrorists. The condemnation is of the center. I think they are playing a double game. They are playing the game of soft separatists, and that also needs to be curbed. So we have to fight this particular problem at multiple levels. One, deal with the perpetrator, Pakistan, deal with them with a firm hand. If they have to be given a military message, give it to them. Number two, target the political parties who are giving soft support. And number three, target the relatives of these people who are giving them support. We need to find them, and we need to make it very, very expensive for those family members to give further support to any terrorist activity which is taking place in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Avni.
Absolutely, Major General. Thank you so much for joining us with your perspective.